As some of you might have noticed, I'm a little bit of a mega Star Wars fan. I mean, I don't really hide it very well. Obviously, the biggest event of the year, of the last decade, of my entire life, was the fact that Star Wars The Force Awakens just came out in theaters. I mean, I got the prequels in theaters too, but, you know, we know how that went. Jar Jar, anyone? So needless to say, everyone in the world is talking about Star Wars. Everyone in the galaxy is talking about Star Wars. See what I did? See what I did? I tied it back in. And so I thought I'd make this video talking about my 5 favorite things about the movie and the 5 things I didn't like about the movie. The ups and the downs, the balance of the Force, the light side and the dark side. You feel me? Okay, so first and foremost, this movie looks and feels like Star Wars. J.J. Abrams and his team went through great lengths to recreate the original trilogy, the feeling of a used future. That was always my favorite term that George Lucas used. This story takes place a long time ago, which means that these worlds and this style of living and this civilization has existed for a very long time. That was one of the problems with the prequels, is that everything was shiny and new, and I get that it was supposed to feel like it existed before the Empire, but overall, it all fit together. It felt organic and it felt natural. I thought it was awesome. But on the dark side of the Force, the CGI wasn't the greatest. Now, granted, they didn't have a whole lot of time to piece this together. They slapped this movie together in 2 years and they did what they could, but they went through such great lengths to use practical effects and to use puppets and to use masks and to use things that were real, and because of that, the CGI characters, well, the fully CGI characters, just kind of felt out of place. It just took me out of the movie a little bit, but, you know, you get what you get. Back to the light side. One thing this movie really had going for it was its action storytelling pacing. There was boom, 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 boom. The movie starts, it's already going and going and going and going. No time is wasted. It's almost as if they looked at the prequels and said, wow, those movies were about politics and really boring. Let's just get things rolling. This movie just plunges you into the action. You're in the world, get ready, buckle up, here's the Star Wars you were waiting for. Sorry you had to watch those 3 movies that had some action, but not really that much. This movie's gonna make up for that by being all about that motion. Unfortunately, for the dark side, it felt a little bit too rushed. Although the effect of it being a lot of fun was achieved, it just felt like they weren't taking their time with anything. You didn't get to sip any of it. It was kind of like they would throw you in an environment, you get to look at it, but then we had to move on. We had to move on so quickly. Star Wars to me has always been about what is the daily life of these people in this situation, and really getting to know those characters. But in terms of getting to know those characters, another point for the light side is that the characters were a lot of fun. They were really cool. They did a pretty good job in a short amount of time explaining sort of who they were and giving you enough background to where you're like, okay, I'll root for you. Poe is the coolest dude in the galaxy as far as I'm concerned. He's basically Wedge Antilles 2.0. He was awesome. Finn, he felt like the everyday guy. He felt like the guy that you're supposed to sort of relate to in a way. And then of course there's Rey, who's just awesome. Strong female lead with a mysterious past we're not really too sure of, but she's hopeful, but she's powerful. Unfortunately, I felt like the script was a little bit weak overall. Everything was almost prescribed in a way. You sort of knew what characters had to say. A lot of the dialogue in the original trilogy just felt like, yeah, that's what that person would say in that setting. This felt like, yeah, this is what that person has to say in this situation. Because of that, this is another point for the dark side, unfortunately. I felt like there really wasn't much depth there, right? Of course you start theorizing and thinking, oh, who could this character be and what could the relation to this character be like, and you know, what's the past there, and what's gonna happen next? And it raises a lot of questions, which is generally a good thing. You want that mystique, right? But I feel like this was a byproduct of poor storytelling. You have a lot of questions because nothing was really explained to you. You were just expected to understand things. But on a positive note, it fuels a lot of conversation. There are a ton of questions and anything is possible right now. I love when fans can theorize about what is possible and what can happen next, and the fact that we won't know for another 2 years is crazy. It felt familiar because we know the Star Wars universe, but unfortunately, it felt a little bit too familiar. And I point for the dark side in the fact that it's basically a New Hope 2.0. It's exactly the same story. Like, almost shot for shot, exactly the same story, which is crazy. And I'm gonna take a point away from that. Now, I get why they did it, because it's very safe, and we know that that works. The reason I'm okay with it, and here's the point for the light side, and my final point that I'll make, is this movie, if I had to sum it up in a sentence, I would say it is the most well-produced, most beautiful fan movie ever made. They gave people what they wanted to see. You've wanted to see the Millennium Falcon zoom around and fight TIE fighters. You want to see that hero who lives on the outskirts and has a coming-of-age tale and rises to greatness. They did what worked, and I'm really, really happy with it. I feel like, although it's not the Star Wars we deserve, it's the Star Wars we need right now. Overall, I love the movie. I love the experience. I thought it was a ton of fun, and I know there's a lot of controversy going back on whether or not it was a good movie or not, but I think it was a good movie, and I hope you guys enjoyed the movie. But in the comments below, let me know what you think. Do you agree or do you disagree with some of my points? I also want to give a huge shout out to Loot Crate, which I highly recommend you guys check out. They're always themed every month, and this month's theme was sci-fi. So you got this really cool Mars Curiosity rover t-shirt for the holidays. And if you're a fan of Halo, this giant Halo tin came in, this UNSC tin, filled with a bunch of cool stuff like, look at that, Han Solo pop figure, very appropriate. BB-8 socks. I mean, everybody wins. So I highly recommend you guys check them out. If you do, go to lootcrate.com/MrLeoZombie and use code word Leo to get 10% off. And that's it, guys. Thank you for watching this video. I really appreciate your attention, and may the Force be with you. You will like. I will like. You will subscribe. I will subscribe. You will tell your friends to subscribe. Okay, now you're getting a little out of control. You will tell your... Alright, I'll tell my friends to subscribe. Thank you. Yeah, you're welcome.